वेलकम टू भारत मार्ग फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू भारत मार्ग। भारत मार्ग में आपके लिए बहुत बहुत स्वागतम। और दोस्तों, अभी का डिस्कशन होगा बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। ये कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट जो है वो बिल्कुल कम करते जाती है। इट्स गोइंग कीप ऑन कटिंग डाउन द इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट्स कोटा ऑफ पीपल हु आर कमिंग इन। ओके, इसका मतलब क्या है विनय जी? मैं तो देखा था कि जो कोटा था ऑलरेडी उसके लिए लोग नहीं आ रहे थे। The people are not coming. So who are they? Who there is a Canadian government trying to fool the Canadian people, saying that, oh, you know what, we are cutting down the quota. Already people are not there for the quota you had. Then what is the necessity for you to cut down, right? ये एक सवाल है। और इधर का जो यूनिवर्सिटीज है, जो कॉलेजेस है, दो तीन गुना इन बच्चों के ऊपर कलेक्ट कर रहे थे फीस। 3 गुना का फीस कलेक्ट कर रहे थे। अब क्या होगा इनका? क्या ये धंधा से निकल जाएंगे बाहर? ये भी सवाल है। विल दे शट डाउन? कैन द Canadian colleges and universities will able to survive? This is a question for Vinay ji. But before we are going there, friends, please make sure to like the video, comment on the video, share the video with as many people as you can, and also subscribe the channel if you didn't already, and press on the notification bell if you didn't subscribe yet, and press the notification bell and stay connected so that whenever we go live, you can come in and join us and ask any questions, friends. Okay, and also we are into many sevas like Sanskrit teaching, Vedic mathematics teaching, and also matrimonial site we run. All are for seva, friends. And if you like any of the seva what we do, and if you want to take advantage of it and be part of it, you can just WhatsApp it to us. And do know that we don't charge any money for these services, and we take only dan. Okay, and also we are into Gaudan, Gau Seva, Annadan, Anna Seva. And if you like what we are doing in Sanatan community, you can go ahead and share the video, and also donate us, and also subscribe by sending a WhatsApp to +16479644790 to get daily one Sanatani message for you. Whatever happening in the world, you get to know. Okay, and you can stay connected to the roots of Sanatan Dharma. Vinay ji, thank you, welcome. ओके, ये क्या हो रहा है? नाटकबाजी हो रहा है क्या? कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट बोलती है कि हम ये जो स्टूडेंट इनटेक है उसको काटते हैं, मगर यूनिवर्सिटी हम बोलते हैं कि वो जो कोटा था ऑलरेडी उसके लिए बच्चे नहीं आ रहे। फिर इनको क्या ऐसा जरूरत ही हो गया कि काटो? ये क्या नाटक है?
Thank you for again having me on the show. So the main thing is the Canadian government brought in a rule several years ago where there was no cap on international students, and even universities and colleges, they could bring in as many students as they want. Okay, there was kind of a cap, I should say, but the cap was not even being followed, because I'll tell you that the classrooms were filled with so many international students. In some of the colleges, 100% intake was international students, because they were making 3 times to 4 times the money that they would charge a domestic student. Okay, so why would they want to bring in a domestic student when they can get 4 times the fees of a domestic student from an international student? So they were bringing huge number of students from countries like India mainly, and they also encouraged touts. And these touts who are based in the country of origin, and here also they kind of had a mutual understanding that, okay, how many students do you need? Okay, I got in this college I got about 80 students I can take, and in this college I got about 55 students that I can take. In that college I got about 300. So this is how the local touts used to communicate to the tout in India and tell them, hey, send me so many students. I'm okay. I can bring in as many. So, when you add collectively 300, 400, 500, or 50, 100, whatever, times the number of colleges, and there were a lot of colleges that were operating out of basements and plazas. And these people, I don't know how they were able to get the licenses from Canadian MCU.
Scam.
I have no idea. Sorry.
Scam. It's a scam.
It's a scam. So this is, I will refer you to one of the articles that one of the senators by name Ratna Omidwar, she wrote a while ago, and she talked about international students becoming a focal point for dissatisfaction with federal government policies on several fronts, particularly their impact on housing, groceries, and so many other things. And there are also legitimate concerns that many students enticed by unethical consultants are in Canada not to study. Remember this. They came here not to study, but to work and stay, using education as a backdoor entry point. And they
No,
are
this
somehow
is
they
this is where this
entitled.
is where this is where I don't agree with you fully, विनय जी.
Yeah.
ये बच्चे इधर आते हैं 20 लाख दे के आते हैं इधर 20 लाख. उनके पास जो पैसा नहीं है वो सब खरे बेच के घर परिवार सब बेच के इधर आते हैं. इसको लेने वाला सिर्फ क्या इधर का बैठने वाला गुंडा है क्या? क्या पॉलिटिशियन का इसमें हाथ नहीं है क्या? I just want to ask a serious question.
It's
Without politician help, will they be able to bring this many people?
100%. I mean, 100%. There is some kind of a nexus between the politicians, the consultants, the colleges, the universities, and the touts. Okay. So there are a lot of, definitely this cannot be done by one person. But yes, and you're right that the victims are the students. However, what I'm saying is victims, I cannot completely blame the students, or rather categorize the students as the victims, because they also came with the sole purpose of not studying in Canada. They came with the purpose of working and staying in Canada and immigrating to Canada through the backdoor method. Okay, they thought that coming in as a student, because many of the provincial governments entice these students and told them, hey, listen, you come to Canada as a student, you pass your course, and we'll put you on a fast track to immigrate to Canada.
इसमें नंबर वन, इसमें मुझे तो कुछ गलती नहीं लग रहा, इसलिए कि जब मैं मुंबई गया नौकरी ढूंढ के, मुझे तो ऐसा नहीं था कि मैं गांव वापस आऊं. मेरा मानसिकता ये था कि मैं मुंबई में सेटल हो जाऊं, राइट. I'm not going to come back kind of thing, at that time. तो लोग जहां भी जाते हैं अच्छा प्रॉस्पेरिटी के लिए जाते हैं, अच्छा अपॉर्चुनिटीज के लिए जाते हैं, उनका मन में ये होता है कि उधर सेटल हो जाए, राइट. वो ये एक बात है. दूसरी बात है, ये बहुत गहरी बात है विनय जी. आई वांट यू टू एड्रेस दिस. अभी जो सिटिंग मिनिस्टर है, माइनॉरिटी मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया, ओके, रवनीत सिंह बिट्टू, okay, whose granddad was killed by Nijar, allegedly, after which he came here in the fake name called Ravi Sharma. ये सबको पता है कैसा है. तो he says the drug lords who are into the drug business, they run control gurudwaras, and they are the one who are in charge of running the immigration business also. He says that. It's not my statement. इसको कैसा देख रहे हैं आप?
No, I'm telling you this is the fact, because I'm quoting a Canadian senator, Ratna Omidwar, who is also saying something very similar. Okay,
is she the Jew senator?
I believe so. I am not 100% sure about what her origin is. It could be Jewish. I'm not sure, but yeah. I mean, like she is basically had mentioned this in her statement way back in February of this year, that these students, yes, you mentioned about going to Mumbai and working there and all that with the plan of settling down, but you went to work there. Okay, these students are applying for a student visa, not to study. They are planning only to come and work in Canada. How can you come as a student and work in Canada? Because the Canadian government's policy changed, and they said, okay, all the students who come to Canada can work up to 40 hours. 40 hours in Canada means it's a full-time job. So when are you going to study? So the Canadian government also completely messed up the system, screwed up the system under our beloved Prime Minister Trudeau. And they messed up the whole immigration in such a way that it's a
his full designation, drama teacher. say
Yeah,
his
yeah.
full
I mean, like
definition.
his policies are completely screwed up. And anytime you ask him a question about that, he only has two answers. He's either dodging the question or he's talking about totally something about landing on the moon.
Wow.
So he is not willing to answer your question pretty straightforward. Okay.
Okay, now let me ask you the other question to it. Okay, now अभी तक हमने विद्यार्थी के ऊपर बात कर रहे थे. अभी ये जो कॉलेजेस है, यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं, ये तो बोलते हैं कि हमारा पास जो पहले कोटा था, नाउ दे हैव रिड्यूस्ड इट अगेन यस्टरडे, यू नो. सो इसके पहले जो कोटा था उतना ही पीपल नहीं आ रहे हैं, उससे ही कम आ रहे हैं. तो अब क्या जबरदस्ती हो गया गवर्नमेंट को कि दोबारा कम करें, क्योंकि लोग आते ही नहीं है जिसका कोटा पहला था.
Well,
इसका क्या
this is
नाटकबाजी है, इसका
this
सच
is
क्या है?
only last year the intake of students started reducing. Okay, the people who started coming into Canada started dropping as well. Prior to that, the Canadian colleges and things were mostly full. I wouldn't say full all the time, but mostly full. At least the colleges were able to survive and run their courses and run their business, and universities as well. And you will be surprised. If I'll give you one example about Conestoga College in Kitchener, where the student population was so much that they had housing crisis there. Same thing happened in PEI, where the housing crisis became a huge issue because there were so many students. But up until 2023, in 2023, the student population started dropping. Okay. And the reason it started dropping was Canada put in too many rules. They said that we're going to be changing the rules starting from next year. It's going to become, the student work permit is going to drop from 40 hours to 24 hours or 28 hours or something like that. Number one. Number two, it also turned out that the cost of living in Canada has gone up because the inflation was high, the interest rates rose, and the landlords started charging more rent from the tenants because their mortgage rates went up, and then the cost of living in Canada went up, the food cost went up, and people realized the stories that they were hearing from other students who were already here, the horror stories, some of them sleeping under flyovers, unable to find food, unable to find housing, unable to survive. They kind of started hearing these stories, and then the student population also started dropping. Right now, what has happened? The colleges are really struggling to get students, and they're doing anything that's possible and working with a lot of touts, consultants, and government and politicians and whoever to see how best they can survive. Many of these colleges are willing to shut down because they're unable to find students. And now, as you said, government is further dropping it down. And why is it happening? It's because the government has finally realized that our policies were screwed up. Now we have got to match the student intake with the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, of Canada, and we've got to make sure that the growth of the country is in sync with how many students we bring into this country. And now they're kind of rethinking this whole thing. Why? Because the elections are due in next year. Okay. And Trudeau has
और
already,
ये सब थ्रू का वोटर बेस है ये सब.
it's all water based. He's got received multiple complaints from different groups of people saying that, hey, what have you been doing? What are you doing? Like, you're screwing up this country. And people like Ratna Omidwar and many other people have written to him, and there have been protests in the parliament, and there have been protests whenever he goes out to meet with people. There have been protests about this immigration stuff. And so now he's kind of waking up and he's trying to cut down. But the problem is the whole, there's a total imbalance in this education system, right? And I don't know if this can be fixed right away. So
ओके, मगर मेरा ये सवाल है. ओके, अब ये बोला जाता है हाँ, कमिंग सितंबर से इधर का जो लोकल स्टूडेंट है उनका फीस 2 गुना होगा. The fees for the local students are going to be doubled. Okay, from September, they say. Okay, now it's official information from RESP, basically. Okay, now having said that, okay, मगर colleges बोल रहे हैं कि हम survive नहीं कर पाएंगे क्या? Canadian, we will see like a dominoes effect of all the universities and colleges falling down in Canada. ये क्या होगा अब? क्योंकि
अच्छा.
अगर आप फीस लोकल स्टूडेंट्स का बढ़ाएं तो बहुत सारे बच्चे जाएंगे नहीं पढ़ने के लिए.
Yeah. So Ratna Omidwar, and I'm again quoting her, she went back in February, she wrote this article and she said, I'm going to quote unquote, she said, as universities and colleges lose the international student fees. Okay, I'll repeat that. As universities and colleges lose the international student fees they have come to rely on all these years. Now, guess what? We face the serious risk that domestic students will face a drop in the quality of education they receive. Plus, they will also face the inevitable fact of the rising education fees, school college
अब
fees.
अब ये let's go through it, analyze it, postmortem, okay,
Uh-huh.
or pre-mortem, whatever you call that, the our analysis, okay. अब फीस ज्यादा हो रहा है, दो गुना हो रहा है, इसका मतलब है कम स्टूडेंट्स जाएंगे. Okay,
No,
और
no, no, like I'm not going to say that come.
yeah, naturally, if the people who cannot afford, already there is a huge dropout rate of between 12th grade to the college. Do you agree?
See, that's what I'm saying because a lot of colleges and universities, even universities, are in the brink of, shutting down or taking bankruptcy or whatever, right? Because the thing is, like you said, the college fees, if it doubles for domestic students, many students may go, but many there may be few students who may not afford it because end of the day you also have to look at something like, for example, a basic degree like a BA or a BCom or a BSc, right?
But if you cannot afford, what are you going to do?
If these degrees, and these degrees are not professional degrees, you got to
Right.
understand this, they still have to continue their education and do something else after that to do some professional degrees where they can get that job, because right after BA, what are you going to do? You're not going to get a job right away. You do a BCom, you're not going to get a job right away. You got to pursue more, qualify yourself as a CPA or a CGA or a CMA, or pursue an MBA or whatever, right? As an accountant, and same thing with the BSc. You'll have to pursue medicine or dentistry or something else, or a lab assistant or a lab technician, something like that. But and the problem is when students are very smart these days, they kind of see, okay, you know what, I'm going to be spending instead of let's say it was $6,000 per year for a bachelor's degree. Now if it is going to double, okay, so $12,000 times 4 years, which is $48,000 as opposed to $24,000. Now imagine how that is going to affect the students, and then they have to pursue another degree to become professional and start earning. Now that's when they start rethinking, hey, is it worth it, or should I just spend my a portion of my $48,000, go do a skill trade, like become a plumber, become an electrician in 1 year, and I can start making money.
Okay. Now, okay. Assuming, okay, there is a dominoes effect that is going to be faced by the universities and the colleges. Many of them shuts down, okay, because they cannot survive with the situation what we hypothetically we discussed about. तो अब क्या होगा? ये जो टैलेंट पूल जो था इधर, जो कनाडा के लिए अवेलेबल था, इधर से जो लोग काम कर रहे थे, फॉरेन वर्कर्स भी थे, इनका पूरा कम होने वाला है आने वाला 4-5 साल में. तब कंट्री कैसा फंक्शन होगा? ये मेरा लास्ट सवाल है आपको. इसका क्या बड़ा इफेक्ट क्या होगा? व्हाट इज द होलसम
The
पिक्चर ऑफ?
thing is, education is kind of the foundation for any country's future. Okay, if the country is unable to provide education, and I'm surprised that Canada is even, in is should even be charging fees for for university education, because technically in many countries, I'm telling you, in many of the developed countries, and I can quote Britain, for example, and I can quote Turkey, for example, and I think even in Germany, I'm not sure if it is there exists, but these are countries that offer free education, beyond university. Okay. So up to university, if you want to do a master's and stuff like that, that's when you pay your fees. But at least they make sure that you are fully covered up to university. And this is what Canada should have done. But unfortunately, we are not on that path. And now, if we are not giving the foundation for our future generation, how is this country going to progress? This is what you got to think. And if there's going to be a drop in the number of people educating themselves, going to university, and everybody is going to become going to skill trades, or flip burgers, or work in restaurants,
Then
or
who will come to eat if everybody is going to flip the burger?
right, and do menial jobs. What about the leadership? I mean, like we need visionary leaders who can actually lead this country into the future. And what's going to happen? I'm not saying that education is the end all, but the thing is, the basic education is what's required for you to start thinking, and you know
Absolutely, absolutely.
and
I have one last question for you, Vinayji. One last question. Assuming that the Canadian Prime Minister loses the election, which he is having a high potential of losing the election, he is running pretty behind. Now the Conservative Party comes in, Polaver, who comes in, So what is their policy for the students? Are they having any constructive things to save this sinking in the education industry or no?
well, from what I heard from Pierre Poilievre, I think the first thing that he wants to do as soon as he comes to power is, you know, change the immigration policy. That is the most important thing, and the immigration policy needs a huge revamp, because we got to make sure that the right people are coming to Canada for the right reason, not for unscrupulous reasons, right? So that is the one thing that he has to fix. So once that gets fixed, then you know what, the number of people, these unscrupulous people who are coming into Canada for other illegal through illegal means, for nefarious activities, is all going to be curtailed. Okay, number one. Number two, once you also he also wants to, the other thing, that major thing that happened with Trudeau, was he did not put a cap with on the number of students intake for colleges and universities. There was an indirect thing, but nobody was monitoring it. So that is another thing that Polivier wants to do, actually bring in a thing.
But now he has put the cap. No, now he has brought in the cap. Trudeau,
it,
right?
it still it still needs a lot of
But
cleaning up.
is there any hope for the students? That's what my question is.
And yeah, once Polivier comes, you know what? He's also going to put a cap on. His plan is to put a cap on the
And
fees.
will they do any subsidy for the student
No, he's going
education?
to put a cap on the
Do they
fees.
have anything?
No, I mean, with regards to the subsidies and all that, I'm
No,
not
for the
sure.
local students, I mean to ask.
I'm not sure about whether he is going to give them any subsidies.
Okay,
He's going
okay.
to put a cap on the universities and colleges to say that, hey, listen, you were charging $8,000 per academic year for a domestic student for this particular course. How the heck do you justify going from 8,000 to 16,000? Guys, you cannot do that. So the government is going to restrict that. So that's going to be a great thing for Canadian domestic
But
students.
that will again force more of universities to shut down.
No, because you know what? Now you're streamlining, and it's going to go back to how it was before. And all these universities, colleges were surviving. You know
Okay.
what happened, right? In the last 10 years that Trudeau has ruled, hundreds and thousands of these illegal colleges have come up only for this purpose. Their
Absolutely.
main purpose is to make money. What are they teaching in those colleges? God alone knows.
Yeah, I absolutely
Those will
agree
be
with you.
shut down.
Final question. This is, what do you think the universities, how they will emerge? Will they come out with online courses offering for the international students to study from the home itself? Will they be successful at it? What do you
I'm
think?
pretty sure that Canadian colleges and universities will also group together and say, hey, you know what, you got to give us some relief. We also have to survive. But what the Polivier government is going to do, they're going to put cap on these colleges and universities that have come up nefariously through bribing people and whatever, and they've got their licenses operating from basements and plazas. Those will be shut down. But if the legitimate colleges and universities, you know what, if they have to survive, and if the survival method is, let's offer international students online courses or online degrees and stuff like that, they're going to pursue that.
Absolutely. Vinay, thank you very much. I know you got to go. Appreciate your time, sir. And we're looking for friends. Do let us know what do you think of it. And there is a big dominoes effect you are going to see. I believe. Okay, do you agree with that, or you agree with Vinay ji regarding the system can be saved? Do comment and let us know. Vinay ji, thank you again.
Thank
Jai
you.
Sri Krishna. Jai Jai Sri Krishna. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.